Testing.
I'd say it works.
That works.
Okay. We are up. Okay, let's call the April 11th, 2025 Central Board of Architectural Review hearing to order. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board regarding an item that is not on today's agenda?
We do have Meryl or so if you're online and wish to speak on an item not on the agenda or not on the agenda, please raise your hand. It's Meryl Brooks. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm okay. I'll wait until the item. I couldn't log on. Something was missed. It's okay now. Thank you.
Okay. Member recusals. I think Denise, you're the only one.
Recusing from
2, 3, 4.
2, 4, and 5.
So, no, 3 is Spence.
3 is
Let's just scroll down and get from
This is the
her to,
latest one.
yeah. So Emerus is first, so Valley Canyon,
yeah, that's recusing.
okay.
Spence they can be here.
and El Capitan. So number 5 is the last one is Mountain Tech.
Yeah,
Okay. So we're gonna see you for Emerus, and then you're gonna take a long coffee break and we'll text you.
for Spence.
Or for Mountain Tech, you'll come back for Mountain Tech.
No, I can't, no.
Oh.
It's 2, 4, and 5.
2, 4, and 5. So Spence edition is fine.
Spence edition is fine.
Perfect. All right. Well, hopefully that'll be a short coffee break. Okay. Now that we've got that figured out, agenda status report.
We do not have any changes.
Okay, the minutes from March 14th, 2024. Everybody looked at them? Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Got it?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, informational briefings. I don't have anything. Staff update?
Yes,
Nicole?
good morning, everyone. A couple of things. I'm gonna go over some items that are coming up at the Planning Commission. But first, I wanted to let you know, I'm gonna be staffing the meeting until about 10 o'clock, at which point Henry Wakamiya of our staff is gonna take over for me, because I have a meeting I have to, a public meeting I have to attend. So I'll be here for a bit, and then Henry will pick up and be taking the notes. And then as far as projects coming up at the County Planning Commission on May 7th, the Long Range Planning Division is going to be going over a senior mobile home park overlay ordinance. And then they're also going to be giving on May 7th, again, a housing bills briefing, which might be of interest just generally of anyone who works in land use planning. So again, that's the housing bills briefing on May 7th. And then also coming up a little bit later that month, May 28th, Long Range Planning is going to be going over the 5-year capital improvement plan. Comprehensive plan conformity determination. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the standard agenda. Item number 1, 24/134, Emerus Lompoc Solar PV and battery storage. We have planner attendance this morning. If you want to give us a briefing real quick, but you have to talk loud, that's your microphone. Or come over here.
Yeah,
Either
I
way.
would sit over here. I think.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie. I'm the planner. I'm here today with the applicants team. This is our 3rd time attending CBAR, still on conceptual review. We do have some changes from the previous review, the previous plans.
Okay.
I prepared a staff memo to kind of outline all those changes. I'm sure the applicants team can go into detail, but the main things to keep an eye out for you guys is a change in the orientation. And so this is a good image. You can see the red is what they were previously proposing the orientation of that array to be. And then they've kind of moved some of the panels that were in a higher elevation in a more visually significant area to a less visually significant area. They've also updated the fencing design. And so I think it's following what you guys were recommending of the cattle kind of design, less intrusive. And then they also beefed up the landscaping. So they put new clusters of vegetation in more important areas, so in that empty space, they put some more trees and then along the roadside to kind of, again,
Okay.
help beef up that screening.
Are there anything, planning, issues, any additional information on the EIR or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have moved forward with the request for proposals. As you all know, we're gonna do an environmental impact report for this, which requires the county to hire an outside consultant, because that's a beefy document, it's a lot of work. So, we've sent out the request for proposals. The deadline for that is beginning of May, so hopefully we'll have an idea of who we'll bring on. I think it's May 11th.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Guys want to, I can read the comments. It looked like you had a response letter. If you just want to go through it in your presentation, that'd be fine. I will read the comments really quickly. If I can remember where I put them. There they are. We wanted more agrarian fencing is preferred. Chain link is not appropriate with the character of the area and is incompatible. Wood utility poles, transmission lines should follow the roadway. Number of trees should be increased by at least 4 times. Plants should be endemic to the area, more specific to this location. Review the view shed from Highway 1 in both north and southbound directions, as there appear to be several locations where the panels could be placed out of that view shed, specifically between contours 325, 355, and on the other side of the creek between the creek and the oaks. This will allow relocation of more visible panels. Concerned that the panels will be reflective for drivers along the roadway, provide further information regarding reflectivity. So you guys wanna, we should probably move that so that we,
I can move it.
or you can just sit at the table if you want.
Okay.
We really don't.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we took the comments, we studied them, and in general, we made adjustments where we felt it would be feasible to make those changes while still meeting the project's objectives. So some of the comments we were able to accommodate and some we weren't. So more on the notably side, the agrarian fencing, we did get approval to go with more of a deer fence style, which I think would fit with the surrounding landscape a little bit better than that chain link we had originally shown. So it's just a welded wire mesh with metal T-posts. The wood utility poles is one that we determined was infeasible to make changes. So we didn't make any changes to the plan there. The number of trees should be increased by at least 4 times. So we didn't increase by at least 4 times, but we did increase the number and we did place screening trees in strategic areas to help screen the site. We feel a little bit better than what was done before. That in combination with moving modules around, we think will be effective. And then the plants should be endemic. We did go back to our landscape team, and they did make adjustments to the plant palette to accommodate that. And then reviewing the view shed where moving panels out of those high visibility areas. So we focused on, we were able to remove the modules at the northern end of the site, those higher elevations. We effectively moved those modules to the south end of the site. And that's, we felt that was gonna make the biggest
In the
impact.
plan set. I think it's the other one, yeah. That one there.
That's a good one there, yeah. If on sort of the northern, the right half side of the page is the northern half of the project. The north arrow is turned to the right. So we shrank the PV area there a bit, moved those modules to the south end of the site, and also rerouted the road to be lower on the hill. We felt that was made a pretty good improvement to the visual impact for that portion of the project. However, any further reductions in the size of the system was could be detrimental. So we stopped it there. And then lastly, the concern over the reflectivity. We did provide some additional documentation regarding reflectivity. overall, the glare effects of these modules is anticipated to be fairly low, though you can read through that information that we provided.
Okay. You want to walk us through your plan set,
Sure, yeah, so this is, it looks,
main plan set?
yeah, very similar to what we brought before. As Katie mentioned, we did make some changes, so the fencing,
You might wanna,
we could just go page by page and I can
Yep,
explain
that'll be
things as
fine. There you go.
as we change. So this sheet didn't really change. This is just showing the existing topography and the slopes. So we can go to the next sheet. This sheet didn't change either. And this is our site plan. So this one did change. It doesn't have that red highlighting to show
Right.
where we made the changes, but on the left-hand side of the page, the modules that kind of extend down to the blue line, towards the blue line stream there, that's where we moved the modules from the north end to. So that wasn't there on the previous set that you saw.
Right.
And there's also a little bit, we squeezed in a couple more modules down
Down.
a little bit further closer to the highway, but we feel that this area is actually fairly protected from view just because of the existing topography, and then the landscape will help screen that
The
as
next
well.
one is erosion control.
Yeah, this just
Habitat.
shows, additional BMPs related to those changes.
Next.
Grading plan changed slightly. It improved a little bit in terms of earthwork, I would say. But the main changes here are just to the access road that goes around the perimeter, moving that access road further down the hillside, just made some improvements there. The addition of modules to the south didn't really require anything in the way of earthwork because it's relatively flat there, and those racks are somewhat flexible. No real changes on this.
No, keep going. And this is probably no real changes.
No real changes here. I think this, I can't remember if this was the one where we did have the chain link fence detail, but we removed it from the plans. And I added an image of the deer fencing just for reference to a different sheet. So we can go to the
keep
next
going.
one. And this, no changes on this one.
That's the poles,
And
Local.
same, no changes here,
and that didn't change.
no changes here. Or here. And so you can see in the upper right is just an image of the type of deer fencing that we're anticipating.
Okay, and you're talking about 5 foot?
7 feet.
Okay. Okay. And then keep going.
And this is we didn't make any changes to this slide. This was our initial alternatives analysis. Talked
Okay.
about how we arrived at the site location.
And the next is planting.
Planting, so this one we did add some additional screening at the southern end, up sort of on that knoll. We added a cluster in that open area, more central to the array. We increased the number of trees within some of those stretches of screening, and we also added some more to the north side. And this sheet was updated to remove those species that were not really endemic.
Okey-dokey. Is that it? Yeah. Yes. Everything for you? Okay. Any questions before we go to public comment?
Just real quick, where's the mechanical building, the substation?
The substation is located apart from the PV array. It's to the southwest, more towards the entrance of the mine facility.
Is it in the mine?
Keep going.
Where
It's-
the mining?
It's where the mine
Right there.
is, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah, just
located in the plant operating area.
like where all the pits are and stuff, okay.
And there's already existing equipment of similar nature in that location.
Mhm. And then the security fence does have to be 7 feet, do you think?
Yeah, that is their standard for their own
Okay.
internal process.
Mhm.
Question more out of curiosity than anything, but did these changes result in any net difference in amount of arrays or kilowatt hours?
So it's interesting that we increased the number of modules slightly, but it was, I think, a net decrease in system size because the power output of the modules decreased a little bit. So it was a little bit of a give and take, roughly the same capacity that we came in before with. Thanks.
Any other questions? Public comment? See.
If you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. We have Sally. Is it
Isaacson?
I guess, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I represent a number of Highway 1 neighbors. I've also contacted the Hilt Winery. I'm not sure if they're involved at all, but they're obviously in the view shed. As far as our interest as neighbors, we do not want this facility wrecking the scenic highway. And we believe that it could even cause the scenic highway revocation. We know that you have spent mine areas up on top, and we see no reason why you couldn't move this whole thing onto some of those areas. We really feel if you have 2,000 acres, I know it's convenient to have it by Highway 1 for you guys, but it's going to wreck the scenic highway, and we are staunch defenders of the scenic highway. We're not commenting on any of the design other than I think you still have some of the wrong species, but I couldn't see the plants names properly. I think you have the wrong ceanothus, and wax myrtle is not there in that area. But basically our comment is, and we wrote to papers already about this, we do not want this facility along the highway. We want it up and away, closer to Megalito Canyon, which is already basically mucked up by Johns Mansville and its successors. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Isaacson. Anybody else? Is it Merrill Brooks? There we go.
Do I have a time limit? It's brief, but is it 3 minutes or we?
3 minutes is usually what we go with.
Okay, I think I'll be close to that. Okay, good morning. My name is Mary Ellen Brooks. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Citizens Planning Association. I did get the notice for the meeting last night, or when I looked at the computer, it came in yesterday. We could really use a little bit more time because we didn't realize it was coming up so quickly. Also, let's see, we see many flaws in this proposal, and right now, I'm probably going to go beyond your purview, but while we have Amherst people here.
It's your 3 minutes.
I'm just starting.
Yep. No, I mean, you can say whatever you want. It's your 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'd like to see more discussion about some of these issues. I would really think, we do believe that Caltrans and the state scenic highway personnel should be included even at this early stage, even though it is conceptual. We do hope that you will consider story poles, especially where the solar panels will be embedded in the steep hillsides. We asked also that at other locations on your 2,300 acre property be considered. You're noting your project requires 22,000 cubic feet of cut and fill. So maybe there is another area where that could be avoided. What will be the cumulative impacts of this project? You have to look across the road to the other mining operation that has crested the hillsides, which were once considered landmarks to the entry of the city of Lompoc. Okay, how will this project negatively impact the Hilt Winery? Ms. Isaacs has said that she has contacted Hilt. They are your closest neighbors. I do not know if they have been contacted for these meetings. Will this location right on Highway 1 set a precedent for the scenic highway? And again, Ms. Isaacson has spoken to that. I was very glad to hear you were talking about the screening of the project, especially along Highway 1. There is a huge solar array out of Vandenberg Space Force Base, but it's on flat land and it is quite well screened by the existing eucalyptus trees that go along there. I also mentioned your chain link fence. Sounds like that you're getting rid of that, and that's wonderful. There's another concern. I don't know who's going to deal with this, but we do have almost weekly homeless encampments popping up along Highway 1, right at the starting at the corner of 246. So if you're going to put in a facility of this nature, somebody has got to work with the homeless population so that they're not putting the encampments right along the highway also. How is the county going to handle the battery storage facility? Everyone's aware of what happened up in Moss Landing, so we are concerned about evacuations if necessary. And remember, we only have 3 routes out of Lompoc, and this is a major one. Okay, I got two more things. Just a fire station, what's the locale? Who's going to use the energy? I haven't seen that. Is it just Emerus? The city has its own clean energy source, so I
think, yes, that's been established in the application that this energy is just for Emerus and is not being sold back. It's solely used on site. Is that correct?
That's
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay, sure thing. Thank you very much. Okay, who wants to start? You don't want to start?
Definitely.
No?
I can jump in.
Okay, go for it, Andrew.
I think that, this is now the 3rd time we've seen this, and I think there have been some reasonable accommodations made in terms of the overall design and really looking into the nuance of where some of these impacts would be greater than others. I think that new spur off to the west is not objectionable to me. I think
The south,
this
side,
east plan west, yeah.
yeah.
Yes, to the south in actual, on the actual site. I think that's not objectionable, especially because it's a flatter area.
It's also screened by that other hill.
It's also screened by the other hill. And, I think you're getting close with the blue lines. It's convenient that there's a break in the Blue Line Creek there. But if you can use it, use it. I think that, one thing that might help respect some of the public comment that we've been hearing is the idea of utilizing the greater site, as people keep bringing up. It is on a large site. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have to try to find a whole new place for this. What I mean by utilizing the site is specifically with the grading. If you do the math, we're still left with 1,200 cubic yards of export, which seems like something that could be taken care of on a site that large. And it might be worth studying if there's a way to balance the cut fill on the site, utilizing other portions of the site. I don't think that's too much to ask. And it might set you up for a better time at the planning commission, if you were to look into something like that. Okay. And I will let others comment on the landscape, but from what I can tell, it seems like accommodations have been made there too.
I think I would appreciate some photo sims of them from the highway with the landscaping. That would really help. And I'm sorry I missed the site visit last month. And that question about why not use existing parts of the site, that question has been asked. don't think, I should have asked that again. Was it answered? Why we didn't, can I ask that question real quick?
Yeah, and we put some effort into trying to make a visual to help explain why we ended up where we ended up. And in general, it's a large site, 2,200 acres, whatever it is. At least half of it is designated for mining, either current or future. So that's basically hands off. So then that gives us the northern half of the property. And that northern half is pretty steep. It's really hilly, which isn't very conducive to solar.
Okay.
The flattest area that we could find was the one here. That was large enough for the system size that was needed.
And so I appreciate that you screened along Highway 1. And I think for the public, it would be helpful to see the, like, photo sims if you can. Yeah. That would be.
Thank you.
Chris?
Hi, welcome back. I do appreciate my other colleagues' comments, and I like the photo sim. That was one of my notes. 7-foot deer fence, I guess I have to live with that. I wish we could accommodate everyone's goals and wishes, you know, the scenic part, the solar part, the energy part. It would be certainly lovely if some of that power could go to Lompoc as throwing them a bone somehow. Otherwise, those extra landscaping was my suggestion, and I'm glad you filled it in and just keep on packing it. That might save your hide later on down the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of recap, but I'm also gonna kind of punch up a couple of the comments, and if I get it wrong, let me know. My first comment is with regard to the fencing. I don't have a problem with the fencing. It is much more agrarian. Thank you very much. 7-foot height doesn't quite fit, but mostly it's gonna be transparent. I can live with it. I think you're gonna have some severe issues if you're gonna try and find 9 or 10-foot T-posts. Don't know of any. That might be a special order. That's one of the reasons deer fencing with T-posts is usually only 5 foot tall. You gotta have something in the ground. So with that, I want you to show me a detail, how you're gonna construct this. I have no objection if you wanna go to a wood pole. So, instead of the T-posts, although the T-posts are more transparent. And for God's sakes, if you do T-posts, paint out the white on the top. Okay, so number 2, you discussed that's the transmission poles, okay? Trees should be increased at least 4 times. This is significantly much more populated. However, if you go in there and plant, as you're showing, because you've got screening trees such as, there's a heck of a lot of difference in size between a Heteromeles arbustifolia and a Quercus agrifolia. Magnitude of like 10 or 15 times, right? Because Heteromeles obviously is not a tree. So I think you need to do some more work on this. Specifically, I want you to identify where you're going to put those such as plants. Make a decision. Just pull the trigger, make a decision. Where are you going to put the oaks? Where are you going to put all the rest of it? I think you're going to find that, I don't know how everybody else feels, but the arbutus may be a bridge too far for
The
some
madrone?
people. Yeah.
Yeah, is this in its range? It's kind of so-so.
Okay, so this isn't Burton Mesa, but this is still the Lompoc area. This particular area has a very specific plant palette. And so if you really want to go full on endemic, you should probably talk to a biologist. I will warn you, there are some inherent traps in there. So if you just pare down what you've got, I think you can get there without going that extra route, but that's just my thinking. You do whatever you like. But I do want you to be real specific, not anonymous green blobs. They need to be specific to the plants and where you're going to put them. So essentially kind of a preliminary level landscape plan. Same thing for the shrubs. And the comment, public comment made mention of the Arctostaphylus and the Ceanothus. There's, you need to do a little more, just do a little more research on your plant list there. I think you'll be fine. And I'm not an expert. So as far as reviewing the view shed from Highway 1 in both north and southbound directions, I really do appreciate, could you go real quick back to that site changes one exhibit? So next, yeah. I really do appreciate that you kind of hold that off of that northern slope there. That was really critical. I am still a little worried about that little projection on page top. I think you're trying to address it. If you go back to the landscape plan, you're kind of trying to get some planting in that middle and that knob.
Bethany,
Yeah,
could you maybe describe that again for me? You said
yes.
page top and
It's that, we're looking at it on the screen right now.
uh-huh.
You can see it. It's the furthest west, most uphill portion of the array.
So the furthest west, most uphill portion of the array, what are we saying about it?
I think it'll still be a little visible. I'm a little concerned about the visibility. So to that end, if you can kind of address that when you do it, I think you might even find, can you scroll down just a little? I think you might even find, and I'm just gonna point at the screen because you put your cursor where I'm talking about it. I think you might find, we're not seeing some stuff over here, but if you look at your visual stems, I think you might be able to carry on and even wind around. So you might be able to accomplish some screening this way for that uphill.
Okay.
Okay, so just based on the site visit. So with regard to the visual simulations, I know Denise specifically said she'd like to see what they look like with landscaping. If you do that, include one without any landscaping for comparison. It will help you in the EIR as well. And then we're still going to be concerned. We still have the same comment about the reflectivity and et cetera. And I think that's just going to be something it's just going to be there. It's going to be something that we're going to have a concern with all the way along. So Nicole, you can just retain note number 6. Did I hit everything for everybody?
Just the balancing cut fill thing.
And then Andrew's comment about balancing the cut and fill. Yes, this is a large enough site. You should not, I realize you have export, but you should be able to satisfy us, and you should be able to find somewhere else that you can put it that isn't going to be visible and won't impact any of the rest of the view. You know, just indicate on a plan somewhere. We're gonna put it over here.
Yeah, we won't take it.
I
think the
realize
intent
that
was to haul it
it's
down
just a
Highway
question for next
Yeah.
time. Just tick that box.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing with this flow. So I think that's pretty much it. Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Further consent?
How do you want to see them come back? What's the timing? Yeah.
So we're gonna lock down a consultant, they're gonna schedule a scoping meeting to kind of go over the community's main concerns, visual, obviously.
Yep.
With your comments on the landscaping plan, and I think just like the overall, like array orientation, I feel like it would be better to come back with prelim. We're getting kind of close to maxing out the number of meetings that we've been hitting. So I think we would like to see it come back to prelim, maybe closer after that scoping meeting.
That would be fine.
Okay.
I think that, are you guys comfortable with that?
Yeah.
So we'll agendize it for further conceptual and preliminary.
Great.
Okay. So, go ahead. All right. Item number 2, we'll give you a jingle, Denise, in a minute. Ballard Canyon LLC, new single-family dwelling, 24 bar 34. Valley Canyon.
So this is our third review here. We had two conceptual, I'm Liz with Tom Oxner's office.
Yep, let
And
me just,
Tom
let me,
is, oh yeah, go ahead.
let me read the comments
Oh,
real
yeah.
quick, and then I'll let you dive in.
Oh yeah, and Tom's on Zoom, I think.
Okay.
Or, so.
Clustering of the structures is an improvement from the prior site design. Structures are better situated into the site. Generally appreciative of the landscape and architectural character. The landscape successfully softens the design. Would appreciate more information as follows. Note, top of wall and finished grade for proposed walls. Provide more details on chimney and lighting. Provide lighting details for structures and landscaping if proposed, and ensure that the proposed lighting is dark sky compliant. And what are they here for? Is it on the agenda?
Preliminary.
There it is. Usually it's highlighted a little bit better for me. Anyway.
Great. Okay, I'll start again. I'm Liz with Tom Oxner's office. So we've been here for two conceptual reviews last year. Today we're here for preliminary. We have a lot of additional documentation since the last meeting. And I'll go over that when we go through the whole set, because I think there's, in addition to addressing these comments, we also have additional drawings that are included as part of the submittal. So let's just start zooming through the set a little bit.
Which one do you want to start with?
So are they all separate? Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay, well, let's just start where we're at, because
Okay.
it's the architectural. I think the landscape might be separate, so we'll go to that afterwards.
Fine.
Okay, and I also did bring some material samples, so I think that's the first thing we should hit on this set here is, if you keep going to the next page, material board is kind of towards the beginning of the set. Next page. That's photos of the existing site and views from the surrounding area.
It's a ways down there.
Yeah.
T1.7. That's 4, 5, 6. There you go.
Okay, so we have more information about the materials that we're providing as part of this presentation. And what we have for the siding material is a composite siding in a board and batten configuration.
And that's the third one over or the first one? First one?
I think it's the first one is showing the battens, but this is I brought a physical sample that I can pass around for you. And then the roofing material, which is a standing seam roof. And then we also wanted to incorporate, and this red is looking a little bright, but the color is called wineberry. And so it's meant to be sort of a dark, like a deep red for the exterior windows and doors, because we're doing a wood clad, so there's an aluminum exterior face. So let's go down to the next page. Oh yeah, and then also our exterior lighting, we have proposed sconce lighting, dark sky compliant, and then in addition, we have some recessed lighting that's under some of the covered deck areas.
Okay.
Next page.
Do you want to go back to the site and pictures and?
I don't think so,
Okay.
Unless anybody else wants to revisit them, but I think
I think the last time you were here was October.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of meetings between then and now.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you go up to the beginning?
Okay.
Just to get everybody on the same. That's a good place.
Yeah, so you can see in that first image, the brownish hill beyond is
the location of the proposed project. There are a few trees you can see up towards the middle of the hill, which is where the project is located. Yeah, down, kind of more towards the middle, up above that. Yeah, yeah, right there, a little above there. Yeah. So, and then if you go to the far right image, that's the view from the project site towards the neighboring building, and you can kind of see that building, I think, also on the first, off to the left there.
Yep.
So it kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of where this is
Okay.
located. And then let's go to the next page. There are some more images of the aerial views of the site.
Okay.
So,
And it's more the open field area?
Yes, it's the open field area, exactly. So, in the right-hand top image, you can see that access road running,
Right there?
not that one, but the one that kind of cuts between the neighboring property,
Right there?
other side.
This one?
No.
Oh, this one?
Here, yeah, that
Oh,
one.
that-
So that
One of
is,
those.
yeah, so that is to the side of, where this project is located. And, it's kind of just to the right of
Okay.
that access road when we look at
It
that.
looks like there's some existing structures or?
Yeah, so there's an existing, residence, a smaller residence, and then an existing barn. And those are photos of the two existing structures.
Okay.
On the site, and then also a vineyard, so.
Yep.
And these are some photos of where the location of the proposed
Okay.
project is.
That's good. I just wanted to get us familiar with the site.
Mhm.
Keep going.
And that's that access road, okay.
Okay.
Some site sections here, keeping under the 19-foot height limit. We have a roof slope of, I think some of them are 5 and 12 and some of them are 6 and 12 here, so just demonstrating the height compliance there and the calculation from each ridge point. Let's go to the next page.
That's your color board?
Yeah, the color board, and then survey,
Yep.
we'll skip over that one. Okay, so this is the proposed site plan. On the, essentially where the property line is, along the left side is where that access road was.
Right.
So the first presentation that we did
Over
actually.
here. This is the
Yes,
access road?
yes.
Okay.
And so the first time we came for conceptual, the building was actually pushed north. I guess essentially we just brought it straight down, so it pulled it further from that property line to give a little bit more
I see.
relief along that edge. And it also improved some of the grading.
Mhm.
And so that was what we presented at the previous hearing. So, part of this design is the driveway that's coming up through the existing vineyard. And we have civil drawings showing the proposed grades of that driveway. It's also been reviewed by the fire department. There's a turnout, and then there's an existing oak that we're kind of circling around to make that entry into the motor court as sort of like an arrival point. And Scott will go over the arborist report later. There's some, we did some investigation into the proximity of the driveway grading to that existing oak tree. Yes. Okay, next page is an enlarged site plan. So we also have we have a main house, we have a cabana, a pool, and a bocce ball court as part of this project. The main house is 2 levels, but it's staggered, so it's really meant to step down the hillside. We spent a lot of time with working with a landscape architect to integrate the way the hill interfaced with the building and the patios to make it kind of feel like it's part of the natural landscape. So next page.
Oh, I see.
These are some additional site sections showing that transition down through the main house to the pool, and then the cabana. So we also, since the first review, the cabana moved to a different location, and also moving the building location on the site helped the grading around the cabana, because originally it was kind of popping out
Kind of perched.
above the landscape. And so we spent a lot of time looking at how we were grading this to make sure that those lower structures were sitting down into the landscape. And then that's kind
garage and
of,
the-
yeah, that's that lower level there, which is just another bedroom wing at the lower area.
Okay.
Okay, next.
Can we go back to the enlarged site plan? Do you have a floor plan following?
Yes.
That will help me. Yep,
Mhm. Yeah, there's a floor plan coming up.
yep, okay,
So we'll just go down?
keep going.
Okay, so this is, these are actually the civil, this is the septic drawing, so we can skip over this for
Okay.
now. And then there's our lower level floor plan.
Okay, There's the garage
And
above.
that shows there's a lower family room and 3 bedrooms as part of this layout. We did change this slightly from the previous review. It's easier to see on the exterior elevations, but originally that portion of the building that bumps out had 2 bedrooms. And so there were 2 doors along that side, and instead we reconfigured the bathrooms to get, the bathrooms were kind of like pushed in, so they didn't have any natural light, so we brought them to the exterior to get some light there. And then just did a little bit of reconfiguring. The footprint is essentially the same, but it does change the elevation slightly. And then the next page is the first floor plan, there's our
Lighting.
reflected ceiling plan.
Mhm.
So we have some sconce lighting proposed. There are doors going out to the patios on that lower level. And so we have 2 sconce lights to the side of each door along that lower level. So I think there's 6 down there that we're seeing. And then we also have the cabana, which has, where we just have recessed lighting proposed on the underside of that covered deck right now. And then next page. Okay, here's the main house again, the upper level floor plan. And so one of the features that we incorporated from the previous review was we expressed the entry vestibule. And so we pulled that out from the great room portion a little bit to create more of a formal entry sequence, and that allowed for additional planting on that motor court side to kind of soften that entry. And then
I think the
pretty
next
much
one's
everything
your,
else is the same.
yeah, your reflected ceiling plan.
Yeah, and then our reflected ceiling plan for the main level, which also includes sconce lighting, as well as recessed lighting at the covered deck area.
And then the roof plan.
Roof plan, just keying all those
And then that's,
details.
the next is is that the,
That's the cabana roof plan
okay,
and the cabana plan.
there?
And we'll go to the next page. So these are the drawings of the existing structures on the site.
Okay.
We are proposing some changes to the existing residence because in order to do an ADU
Right.
conversion, we need to reduce the square footage.
Okay.
So we do have that reflected, and this was more of just addressing the planner letter.
Right.
So there's that proposed plan.
Keep going.
And then the elevations essentially stay the same, but we have
This
some
is
call
the-
outs for the existing and what the materials are.
Is this, which one is this?
This is the existing main house.
The
so
residence.
Yeah, the one that's there right now, the
That's gonna be
residence.
coming.
Yeah.
An ADU.
Mhm.
Okay, what, is it just the lower level that's gonna be the ADU and you're doing storage above? How are you?
How do you cut in the square foot?
I think if you go back to that, the floor plan, if you look at, the portion that's not shaded
Mhm.
on the top, that's what we're excluding as not part of the ADU.
I don't think there's a limit for converting existing structures.
There used to not be,
Oh, no.
there's a new thing.
There is, yes.
What's the max, do you know?
It's 1,200 square
1,200
feet.
square feet.
I think.
Across the board for existing and new?
You should talk to
Well,
the,
yeah.
yeah, the planner will have more
Sure.
Well,
insight on
and,
that.
and to be clear, we don't review ADUs,
Yeah,
okay? So all this
Mhm.
discussion about the ADU is
Just to
clearly
figure out
outside
how
of our
it's
purview,
Mhm.
okay? We're just
Yeah.
curious.
anyways, this is just something that we had to include for the planning
Right.
application, so.
All right,
it's
so
part
we
of the
can
set
scroll
now.
past the,
Sure,
and keep going.
yeah, this is kind of a big set now. There's a lot of
going.
sheets in here. Then we
going.
have the existing barn structure. Okay, and then here we are at the proposed main house. And one thing that changed as part of this presentation is the entry design is a little bit different. Originally, we had a different door configuration where there was a single door with kind of like a side light and transom that went all the way around. So we simplified this design to kind of, we felt like the previous door didn't match as well with the style of the house. And so this was more to integrate with the rest of the windows and doors with more simple aesthetic. We also have a different style of truss at that entry, as well as the stone base for the wood posts. And then another thing that changed was the great room structure. We adjusted the material of that. Originally, everything was the composite siding material, but we wanted that to, I guess, be, since it's kind of this big element, we wanted it to be a separate, more unique item, partially because on the other side, there's a large covered deck, and so it's a lot of times in shadow. And so we felt like adding a warm white plaster would actually help that space to not feel quite so dark. So instead of being the wood siding, because you can see the siding color that we have is actually pretty dark, we've transitioned to a warm white plaster, which is meant to complement the color of the natural stone at the entry and the fireplaces, which we're using as an accent kind of throughout the project. And then we also have our dark gray roofing material as well. So let's go to the next, or just down. Okay, and then that lower on the right-hand side, you can see the lower level changed slightly. So we now have an awning over that sliding door, which is in the center now. Previously, we had two sliding doors side by side and with no awning above them. So that's the change on this elevation. Let's go to the next one. And then pretty much the same thing. So you can see the different.
Is this
changes.
the elevation that faces Viendra?
Yes. So this is the elevation that you can see those stairs coming down to that lower pool deck area. And then the lower elevation is the side, kind of along that access road, where you have the master bedroom tucked in there, as well as the cabana that's kind of built into that portion of the hillside. Okay, let's go to the next. And then just some additional straight-on views from the cabana and other elevations, because since we have multiple angles here,
It's
we're not
difficult,
seeing
yeah.
a lot of, some of the elevations are not straight on, so we just added a few views in case we need to look at anything perpendicular to the wall. So, okay, next page. There's that garage. Just some additional sections, developing the framing for that, the great room and the rest of the structure. Go next page, we can skip over the sections pretty much unless anyone wants to come back to them. We're showing the height limit in those as well, which is the dashed line. And then our cabana, and then some 3D views of the proposed development. So an aerial view showing that motor court. And then the lower portion of the residence is in the foreground of that. Okay, let's go to the next page. That's the, well, on the lower left is the master bedroom, which is on the left-hand side of the plan. And then on the right-hand side, there is the proposed entry. Okay, next page, door schedules, window schedules. You can skip over those. And we have some details. One of the comments was to provide additional detail on the chimney. And actually, this detail doesn't reflect what we had in the model, so I brought an additional document here. Is it okay to pass this around?
Did you upload it to?
Oh, if it hasn't been uploaded, we can't.
Okay,
we can't
well then
edit.
let's go back to the elevations then.
Sorry.
We can include that as part of, I'll just describe it. Go back up to the, right there. So what we're proposing is a steel plate custom chimney cap there. And that would be a dark bronze color to complement and the idea was to keep it very simple in design, to kind of complement the standing seam roofing. So just a little accent there for the steel chimney cap, and we will include that as part of the final approval drawings. And I think, yeah, let's go to this. Is the are the civil plans in a separate set? I think the civil drawings might be
Yep.
in a different drawing set. So we could go to the civil drawings now. And then,
That's the landscape. That's landscape.
okay, this looks like civil. Okay. So this is where we have a lot of our top of wall and finished grade elevations called out. So go zoom into the, not this page, but the next page, the enlarged plan, is where we have a lot of those elevations called out. And I don't know if there's anything specifically you wanted to review as part of this, because the comment was just to show the top of wall elevations for more information and finished grade for the proposed walls. So
Maybe where it's changed the most since.
it hasn't changed actually. So most of our walls, particularly.
Sorry, not the walls,
Or-
the major grading moves, you said they were improved by
Oh,
sliding the house down the hill.
yeah, so
Maybe
I
this area
guess-
attitude or something.
yeah, well, actually, what changed the most, I would say, would be more in this area. Because we were able to meet up better, like at the edge of the pool, because on the first submittal, the pool was still sticking above grade quite a bit. And we were kind of berming up to it, so when we moved the residents kind of like in this direction, we were able to locate the pool in a way where it, was meeting up with existing grade rather than, kind of trying to grade around it to get the grade up to it. Because this is actually a pretty steep portion of the site. But, let's see. Yeah, I think what we have here is just some additional notes about, so to address the comment, we have some top of wall callouts and finished grade, finished surface callouts along this elevation, and then also some of these retaining walls that are happening along where the deck is, because what we did was we have this deck up at the level of the main residence, and then we're kind of terracing down. This portion is more done with, you know, a natural wall, and then we have one area here, which is a little bit more steep. We're kind of pushing out into that landscape to create this, this viewpoint that looks out over the vineyard. And so we have a second retaining wall. We actually have like a series of 3 retaining walls along that side. So just adding a little bit more information there. Oops. And so and that's really it as far as the heights go. And then Scott will present the landscape lighting and the arborist report, because we do have some mitigation trees as part of this proposal.
All right, yeah, Scott Dominguez, Arcadia Studio. I think Liz did a good job, and those 3D renders really help, I think, visualize what we're trying to accomplish with the landscape. But this first sheet, just the layout plan, indicating a bit some of this, the materials that we're going to be using. So the main motor court, as of now, is proposed like a gravel chip seal. The walls that surround the motor court would be a stone veneer, maybe a stack stone veneer wall. As we move out towards the back patio to the pool, those hatch areas noted there would be stone pavers around the fire pit area with natural stone steps going down to the pool deck. Again, same with those stone pavers. Some of the pathways that connect from the bedrooms down to the pool deck, you know, those may be more of those are proposed as a gravel pathway. And those walls indicated around the fire pit area as we terrace down, some, again, stone stacked walls and natural boulder walls. Okay, go to the next sheet. Just some detailing.
Keep going.
This is our irrigation plan. So all of our hydro zones called out, our Muello worksheet noted in the upper left, as far as all of our irrigation. Keep going. Irrigation details, specs. Keep going.
And then there's another sheet,
Yeah.
another set for him that has planting.
Okay. Oh,
I
separate.
think it's.
Yeah, the first one is our planting plan.
Yeah.
So again, staying, you know, with California native plant material.
It's
yeah,
another tab.
Yeah, you're on the right one.
Am I?
Yeah, just the first
sheet,
one.
The first
Oh,
sheet.
the first sheet.
Yeah, that's
it right there. So plant legend in the bottom right hand there. You know, doing a little bit more of perennials and kind of some lush grasses, natives up against the house, and then as we move out, naturalizing it into the hillside. A lot of our large trees are consistent of oaks and olives. We do have clusters of oak trees there to the north along that property line to help with some screening on the neighbor, and then to tie into some of the existing oaks towards the northeast. All right, can keep going. Let's start details. And then these are our specifications. The arborist report is noted there. Those sheets pasted on the right. It's just indicating what trees that we're gonna be affecting during construction for the driveway. It's noting where we need to have protective fencing, the canopy and drip line, and then mitigation, which we are meeting. We have 14 oak trees that we're proposing, and that meets the requirement for mitigation for the trees. And then this is our lighting plan. So path lights, down lights, some strip lighting for walls, and then some wall lights. Again, all night sky compliant, and they are noted throughout the plan. Of course, looking at safety first, all the pathways and stairs, illuminating for path of travel, and then just some downlighting in some of the trees to help visually from inside the house as well, as just eliminating some of the larger specimen trees that we're proposing. And I think that is the last sheet there. The landscape.
Any questions? I've got a bunch of questions, so.
I have a technical question.
All right, let's start with yours.
So with the chimney cap breaking the ridge line, do we have a restriction?
No,
No, what?
no, there's no restriction.
So it can cut through the ridge
Yes.
line,
Yes.
the chimney cap.
Yes.
Actually,
How,
we could get technical and go into a big discussion, but yes, it's not a
how
problem.
much chemical or?
It's not a,
I think technically you get captured by a 50-foot height limit or something
or
like that.
35-foot height
Or
limit.
35-foot height limit, it's pretty,
Nobody wants to.
yeah.
Okay, that was my technical question. Okay, otherwise I'm good.
Because it's
Until we
a
come back, until it comes back.
It's a safety code thing too.
Yeah,
Got it.
they have to have a minimum height.
Sure,
limit.
of course, okay. Thank
So,
you, thank you.
yeah. Andrew, did you,
I was a little confused from the renderings where that wineberry color is being used exactly. Was just on the cabana or
It's throughout, it's just that, when we did put the color
What the
into the
artist said.
model,
the?
but a lot of times when it's in shade, you don't you really have to zoom in to see it.
Sure.
I
I picked it up on a couple.
Yeah, so if it's in full sun, and I think also it's like the line weights, since we're showing the outlines here, some of that is
that's
obscuring.
the elevations, I think is what we want. Back down. Back down? Yeah. Keep
Yeah,
going.
if you zoom in on some of them, you can make it out, but it is, it's hard to tell because of the shadows.
So the idea is that
Any other-
every.
Yeah, the idea is that
Window
every
or-
window would have that color, yeah.
Okay, anything else, Scott?
Um,
Or Andrew?
Yeah, also have a question, more of a note, one, I think on the top elevation page. Yeah, that right there. Be careful with the height limit lines, because you have to make sure you're doing the 19 feet from existing or proposed, whatever is lower. And so here, you're not in trouble for it, but you would technically want to bring that driveway flat cut line up the 19 feet instead of the existing grade up 19 feet. Yeah, I think that's it for my question.
Okay. I have some major concerns about the lighting, and can you go back to the very beginning of the set? When we were looking at the, or actually, before we go into discussion, I have questions about some locations and orientation. I want to make sure I get my comment. That's a good one. Go down just a little. Okay, right there where the aerial is. Can you indicate for me what is north and how the house is situated on there? In these two views?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
If you need my help.
I think, so, Paolo, you can help me. This is is this the tree that's above the property? No, we're kind of going around this tree with the driveway, right? Yeah, so the driveway wraps around this tree right here,
Right,
and the motor court's kind of here,
right.
and then the residence is in this area,
And
right?
north,
North is like towards the neighbor's house.
oh, this way.
This is north. Yeah.
Okay,
And
that's, a point is not north. Show me a vector. What's north?
Towards the
Going
house.
like up.
No,
this
That
way,
towards the house.
right? Or-
Tyler's got it.
This one, this one.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm gonna address your question earlier about why we slid the project down. Everything she said was correct, but we also wanted to allow more space around that courtyard area. So we
Yeah,
can make that turn.
Yeah, and we also wanted to integrate this cluster of trees here as well into that.
That's fine. I'm just asking my question so I can get myself oriented. Okay,
And to be
so,
clear, less of a question of why versus where.
yes, this
Yeah.
is just a where question. All right. So, so the house is going, I'm understanding this color. It would have helped me enormously if you'd shown the aerial underneath the floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just get myself oriented. I don't usually have this much trouble, so I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay, so. No, nobody else out there can see this, but let me just get myself oriented here. So. This is this here.
Yeah.
So north, you said north is this way?
I think
Yeah. That's what he said.
that looks to be pointing straight up, like that's almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was, I'm, oops, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
north
what I'm
is like
saying.
basically right at the corner of that property, yeah.
Right, where the owner was pointing, so.
Yeah.
So it's more like this.
Yes.
Okay. So the house is kind of like here. And almost like a little bit of a curved shape. With the pool down here and the bocce over here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. Sorry, I wasn't understanding. Okay, so can you go to the elevations? Let me just make sure I've got myself situated. All right, any other questions?
No.
And that was a big question for me. All right, well, yeah, just a little bit more. I think we're gonna get into the elevation. All right, so we need to call public comment and then we'll get into the board discussion and then poor Denise can come back in and sit down.
If you're in the audience and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Not seeing any public comment? No public comment.
All right. Who wants to start?
I'll
Andrew? Chris, you're gonna start, okay.
Go back to page A.3.1. Yeah.
Oh, we went past
I
it.
think we were there.
Oh,
There you go, that's it.
There. No, down the next drawing, down. Elevation to east. No, you're right. And then down.
Right there,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one I want to see. I like the light color plaster towards facing into the hill. However, I do not like that big triangle looking out as such as it's so reflective. And I would prefer to have it just the same material as everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Inwards, I think it's beautiful. That I think is a little bit of a sore thumb. That's all my comment.
Okay,
That makes sense?
yeah.
Okay.
Go, okay, Andrew?
Sure, I think I will continue my previous comments about the site planning and the compactness of everything being a positive, and I think there's a respect for the general methodology of designing in Hillside Ridgeline, while still, getting your client what they're after. I don't mind that wineberry color, and I see where you're picking it up from. And before anybody else, before it becomes a thing, you know, our purpose when it comes to color theory is talking about validity and context, not preference, right? So you're picking it up, it seems like, from the existing house and implementing it into the new house, which is a valid move. I would, you know, as a suggestion, consider how that ties in architecturally more. Typically, when you see that done on Craftsman homes or, you know, even the existing house that's integrated into both the window or door and the casing. Sometimes, you know, into eve details and things like that. I'm not saying you should do that, but usually it ties things together, and when you just inject it onto the metal finish of the doors and windows, it's a little bit more of a, you know, standalone idea. Just less common when you get those pops of color integrated into homes like this. But I think, you know, bring it full circle. I don't see any glaring problems with the architectural design. I'll let Bethany comment on more of the lighting and landscape, but I think it's a pleasant project and, you know, hope it can keep going through.
Okay. I'm going to sound incredibly nitpicky because, quite frankly, you've got your big moves down. That's pretty solid. I do agree with what Chris said about that end. It seems, especially since that's a flat roof there and you're not going to see it. You know, we talk about all four sides, and I know if you scroll so we can see the one above it just a little bit, just yeah. So what you're doing, correct me if I'm wrong, you're picking up that plaster and carrying it around onto that. Yeah. So I think, and you've probably done the same thing on the other end as well.
And the reason was more for the other end, just trying to get more light into that, because the covered deck is so deep on that side that we're trying to bring as much light into there as possible and not introduce, you know, too many dark materials that are
I think in this case, you could kind of do a 2 and a 2. You know what I mean? And just carry the wood into that, if you scroll back down into that one there. Yeah, because I don't think any of us has an issue with it over there. This is more an expression of what it looks like as a whole building from a distance and not as you experience it in place so much. So I would definitely concur with Chris's comment. I think, and are you showing the lighting on these? Because I'm not seeing any lights on these.
They're, on the lower level, it's not showing up, but you can kind of see some of these lights here, and you can kind of see one over there.
I'm not seeing anything down below.
Yeah, so it would be on either side of each of these doors.
Okay, so I have some real concerns. I think you need to have that one per door, and figure out a way to not have quite so much right there. And with your little, the little shed you've got over the main gable there, the main gable there, you've got that little awning over your doorway. That might be an opportunity to remove the sconces entirely and put something that's just right there to light the door, because that's really all you're ostensibly required to accomplish. And so it just seems like the building, for one, I think you could really put back on the lighting around the building and still nestle it in. And mostly
it's really that lower.
Well, that's one of them, but that, and you know, what you've got going on that from Viendra, that looking up, because you're going to be looking up into that, even with that covered porch coming down. It's a beautiful move, and it really protects that fenestration from inside light and the leakage and everything. But then you could put lights on the walls that shine out, and it's like, okay. I think actually from using that porch, it might even be a better experience to just have.
Yeah, we do have.
I know you have it, but it's like, and I don't know how you accomplish it, but it might be nicer to have the light where you want it and not necessarily on the wall. And if you can still meet your code requirements for the doors, I'd really prefer at the risk of sounding nasty, a more sensitized, I should say, just to limit, if the owner is out there and he's got all his lights on, so you're not somewhere far away going, whoa, I can see that house. And then the neighbors doesn't stand out, or it does, for whatever reason, but whatever it is, you're trying to just try and be very, very discreet about where you're putting your lighting and just really, really getting it. Now, this is also a good picture for, we talk about the landscape lighting because, let's see, where was that? Two landscapes. Yeah. So, on the landscape plan, no, where it was. Thank you. On the landscape plan, and you can follow me with the cursor. Okay. You're watching this wall. That's a very critical view down the alley. I don't think anybody needs to look at this wall. Okay. So, I got no problems with your minimal path lighting and yeah, you want to be able to get yourself around. But a lot of that, there's a lot of those kinds of things going on.
You can reduce that.
Yeah, so I think really kind of look at it, especially on this downhill side. If you go to the landscape, now you can go to the landscape plan. Or the lighting plan. It's the last sheet in whichever is that's the other one. Scroll all the way down, and there's the lighting plan. Okay, so like up here, I'm not so concerned about it. But anything that's down here, these are those wall washes that I was talking about. These I don't have a problem with because it's
They're inside, yeah.
it's back,
Yeah.
it's behind, it's in everything. But when you start to get some of these pendants, it's you've got path lighting. And I don't think we want to create this whole, hey, look at my tree.
Okay.
From way down from the end drop. So I think take a look at that, and I understand, this doesn't bother me so much. And these obviously are your path lights and your step lights and stuff. But be just really sensitive to what's going to look like off-site and still get what the owner wants to be able to enjoy in his garden.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, so just kind of microclimate it, I guess is what I'm saying, break it up a little bit and reduce it. So, which ones were your mitigation trees? This is a good one just to look at.
Let's see, I think we had a total, he was requiring 14.
That's what you said.
And we have a total of
Just leave it
19
there.
proposed oak trees.
It's just that.
It's all of the oaks.
All of the oaks.
Yeah.
So you're using these ones.
Those ones
here,
and those ones over there,
those ones over
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have,
And then there's some up here.
yeah, there's come up there as well.
Okay. So, okay, and then, let's see, can we go back to the elevations again? Yeah, okay, so, can you go to the same one that, the other one, nope. Yeah, that one. So from Viandra, and Viandra is a public drive?
Right.
It's private, okay, that helps that question right there, I didn't even have to ask it. Okay, so, but that's pretty much what I'm thinking, and then taking all of our comments in context, and I know I prefaced my comments by saying I was gonna be really nitpicky, and it's because we've gotten down to the real tiny little bits that create the aggregate. Because you've dealt with the aggregate, you've really made all the big moves and tightened everything up. I really do appreciate the fact that when you moved it,
House looks good.
it's a much better project. I think it's a much better project. That was a very successful move. So those are my comments. They're here for preliminary today. Are we comfortable with that? or-
I'd be comfortable. granting that.
Yeah, I think you understood what I tried to say about dialing things back and everything, and when you come back for final.
Okay.
think
I'll make
it'll
a
be there.
motion.
Yeah,
I'll
okay,
make a
so he made a motion,
I'll second.
he seconded
To preliminary.
preliminary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't hear you, Mother.
Aye.
Thank you.
Return for final, right?
Yes. And I think full board, just because of all those little bits, let's get that really dialed in and.
Is there anything else in addition to the lighting and some of these tweaks that you'd like to see at the final?
Maybe on the picture of the orientation, you might want to just
Okay.
sketch a little house, so see what they have to say, and the arrow north.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
that would
happens.
be helpful on the orientation.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a little dashed outline of the footprint, just so that it
It's
helps.
minor, but still.
It just helps to really drop it in there,
Mm-hmm,
because I know I was struggling the last time.
yeah.
So, you guys know the site intimately, and I don't, and so I've got to go, what? The only other thing is, were you changing the barn at all? Looked like
No. I
it
don't
has
think
the
so.
tower.
Sorry, what's the question?
The barn, is that the drawings that we have of the barn? I believe it's the existing.
It's existing. no,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that was all, and
Yeah.
one last thing.
Great.
Just noticed I'd written that on. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, take a break, that's that.
Yeah. Go, go, go,
Can
literally.
we text Denise?
She's just outside, I think, but I'll check. Item number 3, 24 bar 14 Spence addition. Oh, we don't have the past minutes because it was just continued. We don't have comments.
Oh, they're not gonna get them printed out.
Yeah, you don't need to get them printed out, just pull them up on the
Yeah.
screen. Yep.
I didn't see you right there.
All right, I'll give her a jingle. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. So.
Okay, oh, this was.
Mountain architect.
Okay,
Seems like I read it, I read it. Built in-
so I've already called item number 3, Spence Edition, so now that we're all back here, we have the minutes from last time, which I'm gonna read because they're not printed here. The proposed remodel is supported by the board. Applicant is continuing in the same style and detail. Easy to get our support. Include notes on plans required on elevations that all details, colors, and materials are to match existing. You may return for preliminary and final review. And that's what your agenda is for. So let's go ahead
Let's
and
get you in and out.
how would you like to refresh us with where we're located?
Sure. I'm also with Mitch Williams Construction, and this is the Spence Remodel and Addition, and this project is located on the Gaviota Coast up Refugio Mountain. So you can imagine almost to the very top of Refugio Mountain.
Yeah.
Way, way, way up there. As you can see, there's the 101 down low, and then it's marked in the.
Oh, I see. So you're above Circle Bar B, but below Reagan. Gotcha.
Correct.
That's a good. Okay,
Right,
markers.
Just below Reagan.
It's,
Yeah.
and in fact, Reagan used to lunch in this home with the former homeowner. So this home was built in 1970. It's a Cliff Hickman original. He's
Oh,
the
wow.
designer and the builder. And the remodel and addition project is in keeping with the original architecture. Everything is intended to pay homage to this existing piece of architecture that is just amazing. So the home is clad in stone and has some light colored plaster details. There is a mounded roof structure, very low profile, looks a lot like the hillside itself. Everything is in earth tones and natural colors. So if we go from this cover page showing this outside site plan, this is a zoomed in site plan. You can see the existing footprint there. Where it says concrete, that's an existing carport. That area is covered.
Right.
And so the project proposes to infill the existing carport space under the existing eave line and create a kitchen in that space. And then that area that's shaded beyond is a music room that exists, and that will become a habitable space for the home. So here's the existing as-built floor plan. You can see there's a terrace that overlooks the ocean. But again, the proposed project is on the screened side of the structure up against the hillside where you can't see it from the roadway below. And we are proposing a modest 70 square foot entry addition, which is there and hatched in the bottom middle. And then the carport kitchen area under the existing eave. So everything, like I said, is a modest proposed addition. The eave line ties into the existing eave line. All of our proposed lighting is down lighting in the eave itself. There is no sconce proposed.
Let's look at the elevations.
We move down to the proposed elevation.
Colors, materials, and architectural construction dealing to match existing. Perfect. Wonderful.
So as you can see, we're doing everything to match exactly what's already there.
Okay. Including the doors.
Including the doors and the window detailing.
Okay.
And so I've included some basic detailing here. The windows will be Pella wood to match the existing that's installed in the structure now. The only reason it took us this long to come back is because EHS took a little bit of time to review the, as taking the music room to a change of use, that's now considered a bedroom.
Right.
And so we
now
had to
we've
look
got-
at the dispersion field.
Right,
And
right.
so we just needed to add one additional leach line. All landscaping is going to be natural native landscape as it exists now to match existing.
That's the current thing, as it exists right now.
Right.
Just leave it at that.
That's right.
And you're good to go.
That concludes my presentation. There's
Perfect.
really nothing new in this drawing set.
Okay, except for your details and.
Correct.
Yep.
And the
Perfect.
showing the
Okay.
septic.
Cool building.
Anybody have any questions? for a good
Yeah, I
public
just
comment?
have for my own information, why did you have to go to come to Seabar?
We are Hillside Ridgeline,
Hillside
and we're
Ridgeline.
also Gaviota Coast.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, double trigger. Public comment?
See. We do not have any public comment.
Okay, comments?
No comment. Let's get it done.
Anybody want to make a motion for preliminary and final?
I'll make a motion. Preliminary and final.
I'll second. Ha, beat you.
Done.
Yeah, more history on this project.
There you go.
Thank you,
Yes,
everybody.
everybody.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you
good
so
day.
much. It's a wonderful building. I
It's
wish we could
really-
spend more time on it, but
It's beautiful. I encourage you to go check it out sometime. Thank
Okay.
you.
We will.
I did on a bike ride last week.
Aha.
You might just show up.
Okay, so item number 4, El Capitan Canyon Resort Campground Improvements, 23 bar 115.
Okay, people.
Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend.
Enjoy your weekend. Go,
And
go do your thing with your people.
I shall.
Go spend, go.
That's all the
time with your
subs.
people.
Go do all
The
kinds of
Go do
people.
the thing with your subs, the subs.
Yes, indeed.
Invite us over when you're ready.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Right.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch to open.
Yeah, this is a doozy.
Well, they got smart. They started breaking it up.
Yeah. Lots of ground to cover.
Are we still on?
Did you want me to read it? No, I'm fiddling with my computer. Sorry.
Did you do?
I was wondering if I had time to use the restroom.
Yeah, we'll wait for you. So that the context of the proposal can be understood. Appreciate that existing and proposed trees are clearly labeled. Address concerns regarding guests having children in the play area and the pool area at the same time and not being able to see both areas at the same time. Okay, proceed to the director for approval. So, we said project may return for preliminary review. Sounds like you've been to the director. So you got your,
Yes, so we have the substantial conformity determination memorandum,
okay,
and this is the next step before LUP.
okay. So, take it away.
Okay, that's a new setup.
Yes.
Should I be here? Should I be up
You
there?
can be, this is the microphone, so.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the issue.
So let's
Sit
stay
back,
here and we
relax.
have this,
Yeah.
just in case. Okay, wonderful.
And you're welcome to use the pointer, so just
She
use
has
your
to follow
mouse
you.
to follow, so people online can see.
Okay, you get your cursor. Okay, great. Okay, thanks. It's a big project. It's kind of a large team. I'm Mike Neiman, lead design, and we have Arcadia landscape architect and Ben Anderson from OU, our architect. So we're all here today. There's 90 sheets here. It's kind of a big one.
Well,
So
let's just start
let's just
flipping
blast
through.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go quick up front and and I see a new face, so I thought maybe I would just give everyone context. We were last here, December 2023.
Yep.
As you guys know, that we successfully navigated Area F1. You might remember that one. That was fairly recently in an appeal. So we're back working in the inland area of number 1 there, the Long Canyon.
Okay.
So we're not talking about the coastal zone today. We're just talking about the inland area. And in that area, there's 4 areas where we have development areas. And so I'm going to walk you through some of the siting and give you a couple little updates that are important for you guys to know about siting, since these are already approved previously. This first one is the first area you'll see when we go through landscape and architecture. For your benefit, I just want to point out that we're showing here our constraints map to show how we've sited all these buildings and why we've been so careful with biology and the ecology of the riparian corridor. This area is a maintenance area and a Quonset hut for carts, which is a support area. So this is the first area that you'll see. We've made no meaningful changes to anything you've seen and approved.
Next.
Keep going. Lots of topo lines. So you can keep going. This is just a blow up.
Right, so.
One thing we've done this time is one of the reasons that we're coming in now is we've done grading, more detailed grading earlier rather than later. And anything that you see coming from Sasha and Arcadia or Ben in the site development would only be for ADA access and light grading. So those are going to be the only things that you're going to see that have changed to make sure that we're ADA compliant. If you keep going.
Number 2.
Number 2. This is a family pool area. Sasha can describe what's happened here, but again, no meaningful changes to the plan, the design, the architecture, anything like that.
And we still have the pool on one side of the building and the play area on the other side on the west, correct?
That's right. And there's a comment on that Sasha will address.
No worries.
We've solved that one. Yes.
Okay.
And then the next
So
one.
that's an enlargement of
An enlargement of that, and the beautiful landscape drawings do a better job of
That's
this.
all right, we'll get to them. Okay.
Okay. This is the regular pool and an event hall.
Right.
No other changes really here either that you're going to see. And this is an expansion of that, other than paths and ADA access once again.
Okay, so then number 3.
Yeah. So if you scroll down, this is the one that I want to highlight, and one of the reasons we're going through this. This is a good one to land on. These buildings and configurations and siting are basically the same, but this little complex of buildings, when we got into the ADA, we needed to shift that upper building right here out of this area, which is actually an oak woodland, and we put it right here and aligned it. That was so we could get better ADA access in here without doing any grading in this area, and we moved the building outside of the oak woodland. So we see that as an improvement. This is the one site difference from what you saw last time.
Okay.
There was an existing building there.
There
was a bunch of stuff that you were cleaning up.
Exactly. There's a yurt, some other structures.
Yeah,
There's a bathroom. Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Okay. So that's the only meaningful change. I also you'll see lighting and everything, of course, and it remains as we had said before, which is we have a very detailed lighting scheme, which keeps the canyon very dark and keeps all the lighting out of the habitat areas and the corridors. So that's all maintained. We've brought those pictures in the past. And one thing I would say is that you've seen an approved area F, and it's the exact same material palette. It's the same lighting concept and same lighting specifications. So we have all the non-reflective materials, a very simple palette. And also what you'll see in this set when we have our elevations and colored elevations in the end, we've gone ahead and included details, even though it's a little early for that, because they're the same as what you've already seen. So we're able to rinse and repeat a lot of the same architectural detailing that you've seen.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing to include for your preliminary, if you've got preliminary details.
We thought we would put them in there, yeah.
Yep.
And then the landscape is also the same material palette. And since we're already right here, I'll turn it over to Sasha, and she could both address all these areas and then explain the comment about context. couple of different ways. Okay, Sasha,
Thank
take it
you.
away.
So just to review the existing conditions while we're on these photos, you can see we have a group of cabins on both sides of the road, if you scroll down a little bit. So they're lining both sides of the road. And then to respond to comment number 1, if we go to the next sheet on the site plan, you can see for this area and the rest of the areas, this side where we're not overlapping with our new construction, these have the ability to remain during construction. And then in this plan, it's a lighter dash box with the X through it. So there's one there, and it continues down. Here's another one. So those will be removed and replaced with our new structures.
They're on wheels, correct? Ones that are there.
Yeah, so we just roll them out.
Okay.
And then,
Looks like there's 4 total.
yes, that sounds correct. 4 or 5.
Where's the 5th one?
Down
There might be
below,
one
they're
down
right at the
here.
low corner,
Oh, I
there's
see
another
it.
one, yeah.
It's kind of hard for
Yeah,
me to
right
see
there.
from here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
So like
Thanks,
Mike
Chris.
mentioned, we went through each site and looked at ADA access and grading. So the only changes to this site plan is we have an ADA parking stall in the back for staff, and then our material for this cart drop off switched from shale to asphalt due to the grades.
Oh, right there. Mhm.
Yeah. And then if we go to the next sheet, we'll see the water calculations, and then on the next sheet, we've put more detail into our planting plan. So in the front, we have swaths of grasses, Muhlenbergia, Lamus, and then mixed in with our Corten steel and gravestake fencing, we have some larger shrubs to blend that in. So rhamnus, coffeeberry, and island bush poppy. And then there's no trees to be removed, same as last time, but we are including 1 new oak tree. And then if we go to the next sheet, here's our lighting scheme. It's the same as you've seen before for area F and our last presentation. Very minimal, super small fixtures and just what's necessary for safety. So then if you go to the next sheet, I will pass it on to Ben to look at the architectural site plan.
Yeah, so we kind of already covered the site plan. Just jump to the next slide. So what you see here is just a little bit more development of the roof plan, just indicating slopes and development of the interior layout for, this is essentially a back of house use. So there's some support, open office of 2 private offices, a series of restrooms, some storage, and maintenance for vehicles here, and the bike rental area, which would be the only kind of guest facing use shown here on this plan. Next slide. As Mike mentioned, this is the cart barn, Quonset hut, and essentially just going to be storing carts in here with some maintenance area. The guest facing side of it would be here, as Sasha mentioned, with the new asphalt and a small kind of waiting area. This is one area that is anticipated to be kind of a pickup for down canyon uses or up canyon uses. Next slide. So these are for illustrative purposes only. There are slight changes, as Sasha has mentioned, in terms of some of the gravestake fencing and Corten. But the general spirit and kind of design intent of what you see here with the simple shed roof forms, doing what we can to break down the overall footprint or perceived massing of some of these larger structures like this one. So we have the shed roof pointing uphill for a majority, and then kind of reversing to signal kind of a different use. That's where guests would be sort of signaled to walk up and rent from the rent bikes. Yeah. Just a couple extra views. This is the pickup spot, as mentioned, and then just sort of pulling away all the planting so you can see the building, and also adding some cameras.
Okay. So then jumping into the next area, and the pointer. Looking again at the existing photos, we have the existing playground, very limited cabins in this area. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see the existing restroom building that's going to be removed, and the existing pool. So then looking at the next sheet, you can see the cabins that are unaffected by our new construction are up here. They're very well spaced out. And then there's 2 overlapping with our new restrooms, so those will be removed. And then that existing restroom right here is also coming out and becoming our new entry. In this area, we have the same ash trees, the non-native ash being removed, but then we're protecting in place all of the native trees. If you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see we have this redwood grove at the base of the pool. And to help protect these further, we actually shrunk this edge of the pool and the patio to allow 25 to 30 feet more space between those two uses. And then when looking at the bathroom, we had studied it early on, but then we took another look, and with the grading and the existing trees we're trying to protect, we still feel like this is the best location for the restroom. But to incorporate more play elements, just a reminder, our concept for the play area is very natural, a lot of wood logs, rope climbing structures, large boulders. So we're pulling some of those elements into this lawn area. So we have small natural play. They can run around in the redwoods and the lawn and then go back to the pool. We are incorporating some new oaks to the east, and then we have a ADA drop off at the entrance.
Okay.
And everything else is the same. So going to the next sheet.
Number 7.
This is the water calculations, and then the next sheet will show our planting. So for the entry, we have swaths of carex. This will be a detention basin that will catch water flowing behind the building and between the playground. And then surrounding the pool area, we have a softer collection of larger shrubs to screen from the slope above. And then it formalizes around the road where it gets a little tighter. And then we also are including some larger manzanita as well as accents. So then if we look at the next sheet, again, the lighting, very minimal. The pool will be closed at night, so really keeping it dark. And then I'll pass it back to them.
Thank you. We can skip the site plan. We sort of just covered that. So again, the roof plan with more detail, just showing the slopes, development of the plan here. There's a family restroom just to point out. We have some exterior indoor outdoor showers and support spaces. So there's a storage area, and you're now seeing all the pool equipment placed behind the building, which would be behind inside of planned fence. Next slide. And just a view of what that looks like.
Oh, that's pretty much the same as last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with this, the view from the pool.
So then jumping into our third space, in this area, there is a row of cabins that you see that would be in front of these other structures. The structures you're seeing in these photos are more temporary tent spaces and wood decks that are currently hosting large group events. So we're hoping to replace those with a more permanent structure. So if you go to the next sheet, I'll point out where those cabins are. There's a row of cabins in front of the tents. The tents are located in this back area. So we're removing all of the cabins in this area so that it could just be for social group use and events and not disturb any potential guests. For ADA, we revised this path, so that's why it's starting a little bit lower down, so you're able to work up at a comfortable slope with a shortcut. Oh no, the pointer, I think, stopped working. But there's a shortcut with some steps, so you can hop on a little bit sooner.
The shortcut is right there. Yep.
And then working our way up to the event space lawn area, we sort of naturalized the header to incorporate some more screening with planting. And then at the north end, which is more of like a back of house area, we had a lot more of the Corten screening and grape stake fence mixed together, but we really refined and pulled that back. So it's just a grape stake fence and then a low boulder wall to help support the grade of the road below it. And then the one last change for this area is if we go back down to the south, the spa changed size, or it's the same square footage, but the shape went from a rectangle to a square, and we sort of nestled that a little bit more into the landscape, but otherwise it's the same. So then the next sheet will be our water calculations again, and then the sheet after that.
Planting.
shows our planting. So again, the entrance in the front, it's a lot of swaths. And then once we get more to the building and the pools, we're starting to build up our layering, incorporating some new oaks. This area, similar to before, we have some non-native ash coming out, so we're replacing those with oaks and then some buckeyes as accents. And then the next sheet will be our lighting. Again, super minimal. The next sheet will show the northern half of the site. This is even more minimal. We really wanted to keep the lawn as dark as possible for potential stargazing. And then I'll give it back to Ben. I don't know if that's working. But...
I think it's dying. Okay, we can skip this one. It's just the same site plan as landscaping. So what you're seeing here is more development, again, of the interior. We still have the snack bar and indoor lounge area, and then sort of the associated outdoor covered porch, and then step down to the pool area. You've got the fitness area with the stretch terrace where you step out, and then this connects up with what will be the next page, which is the event space. This has been broken up into two to allow two different events. You can see that line kind of running north-south and through the floor plan. That means there's two mechanical systems. We've gone ahead and already specified that, and the equipment has been located. And yeah, the kind of entry to this has been on the top of the plan. So you're seeing that as a little bit of a enclosed patio. Next slide. And just the roof plans showing these areas, difference between the flat and the sloping. Generally, where we have the flat, given that you can see it from kind of higher elevations, we've kept the green roof. It's a suggestion to maybe look at removing some of it, but you can see this here again. The attempt to break down the massing wherever possible. So the larger event space roof has been broken into two, so you're not getting as tall. And just another view of that same space. Next slide. And the up canyon windows, clear story. Next slide. And on the back here.
12, I think is more.
These are just some views with all that stripped away, so you can see the materials. Again, very simple palette, as Mike said, borrowing from the F sites, and picking up some of the comments that we received previously about the column.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I think we're on to Upper Meadow.
Yep.
So in our last space for the spa, we have a very prominent power pole. There are, I think, 3 cabins and then 1 yurt that are getting clipped with our proposed.
The power pole
plan.
staying, right?
Yeah, the power pole
Can't get rid of
has to stay, sadly, but with our
I might
new.
want to make it.
It's more organic, it's more organic this way.
It's the lens.
Yeah,
It's
rustic.
It would be if we don't inherently recognize it as a built structure leaning.
It works for Pisa, but not here.
Yeah.
Now when you walk through, you're never really directed at this, so we're trying to hide it in plain sight by really never having you physically being aimed at.
No, you've done a good job at that. So this is.
I think if you go back to the site plan, just to point out where we have those structures overlapping, to the north, if I can see on here, to the north where we have the spa, that's the first cabin, and then they sort of drift down onto our pathways, which is a more meditative garden area. So we're, again, removing the cabins from this area. The yurt's unaffected, so that is shown as staying for now. And then the power pole is call out number 6. Yeah, right at that corner. So like Mike was saying, with our new orientation of the buildings, we're not really having guests interface with that power pole.
Yeah.
And then once we go, if we go to the planting plan, let's see, we're also.
There you go. Keep going. There you go.
We're trying to really bury that in landscaping.
You're giving it some space, the power pole, but you're also planting all the way around it.
Yes, there is a 10-foot setback that we're trying to respect, but trying to get as close as we can and build up to that.
Okay.
And then we also have larger shrubs around the base of the building, because if you recall, it's sort of cantilevering out. And then down below, back to our swaths of native plants. And then our lighting plan. So once again, really minimal, just safety lighting for the stairs and the pathways. and then I'll pass it back to Ben.
Great. So just maybe on the site plan, the next slide, just want to walk through the cadence, since the building's been slightly reconfigured. So the turnaround for golf carts at the bottom of the page, there's an immediate kind of walk-in, check-in. There's also a path to walk out to that sort of middle terrace. So as guests check in, they then move to that terrace to wait, and can enter into the locker rooms, and then kind of move on with a much easier accessible pathway to the thermal suites. There's a hot and cold plunge, and then the pool is now facing towards the creek. Next slide. Same thing with the plan. So you're just seeing a series of shed roofs here. Each locker room now has a skylight, and that's indicated in the middle of the plan. And if you scroll down, just the build out of the space, you're seeing both locker rooms, the check-in area with some private, like an office and some storage, and then the steam and outdoor sauna.
I want to point one thing out, just since I mentioned the change. Originally, we had people walking over here and lighting and paths and grading. That path has just basically moved to right here.
Right.
So this building has now just been split in two. So the scale is smaller, it's not as tall, and we don't have to have anyone up on that slope. So that's the change.
That's a nice change.
It has that treehouse effect that you guys have seen.
Yeah, next slide, you'll see that, especially the upper left view, you're seeing kind of the difference in grade between the bottom of each building and the ground. Next slide. And just that central pathway. So this kind of concludes the walkthrough. This is now heading into just the elevations of each area. This was the maintenance shed and cart barn. Really no major changes from when you've seen this previously. We have spec'd windows, so those have been updated. They're part of the window schedule and door schedules. But the material palette and the general design intent of that hasn't changed. We have included some details, as Mike said, for some key areas like the concealed gutter condition, the kind of how the wood cladding is being added to the buildings, and the kind of cladding to roof interface. So happy to review those if you'd like. But yeah, we've just included all of these as the most recent. These are coordinated to the plans. This is just the event space showing the green roof areas. In order to accommodate the green roof with the drainage, you see that the roof horizontal element has gotten just a little thicker, I think by about 2 inches from previously.
Yeah.
But still trying to keep that very.
It's always the touchy issue with the planted roof.
Yeah. And then this is the snack bar and fitness space, and the backside. We will, I think for the next hearing, plan to show shadows on both sides. This was just a reflection of the sun was rendered on one side of the building, and when we set the camera on the other side, it's a little darker. So apologies if there's difficulty reading it. Happy to answer questions if there's some of them. Event space, really the main update here is just the mechanical plenum that we're adding in to be able to feed those spaces and service them. Doesn't impact the height of the building as previously proposed. And then some sections through the restrooms. Moving up to the spa and wellness. This is the check-in building. You can see it's just a little bit off grade, but the paths would take you up to it. Next slide. These are the two locker rooms, as Mike said, have been pulled apart. That creates the center spine. Again, further kind of keeping the guest's eye from wandering up to the pole. That's a section straight through that space. So you're seeing the trellis casting shadows onto the wall there. And the next one is the thermal suites with the splash tub, which does come down to the grade. That's kind of the only thing that really touches down. That's a board form concrete finish. And I think that's it. Maybe we've got a few more, some sections through those spaces. Just showing the provision for mechanical. If we go back just one, sorry. You're seeing the skylights added to these two sections for both locker rooms.
And just to touch on one thing, the spa touches the ground because it's also housing our pool equipment, so we don't have to have a separate structure for that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all pretty much perched up on the cliff.
And this is just steep hill. Speaking of kind of getting towards final, this is just all the window and door schedules that are required, and then some of these
Now we're
key
getting into some
details.
details.
Yeah. So the key details that are shown here on this page are the lower left, number 9 is the, basically the green roof detail. So how we're draining that, and it's kind of total assembly with, the parapet detail on, detail number 5, where we have a green roof, next to a flat wall condition. Just sort of general roof pitch, when we have these two roofs slipping past each other and the angle switches, that's a kind of a key moment. So you're seeing that outlined in detail 1, and then if you scroll up just a little, that's kind of the upper roof detail. So the cladding runs all the way up to the metal panel roofing, with a very minimal flashing detail. And then the detail number 3 is the integrated gutter detail. So we didn't want that hanging out in front of the wood cladding, so that's now concealed. And
next I think are some.
Yeah. These are just the typical floor and wall assemblies for all the buildings. Again, kind of borrowing from what was already approved at the F site, and some key window details. Again, we're trying to reuse everything. So there's a sense of consistency throughout the site. So that's the same. And then we just added in this couple details for the skylights, since that's a new addition for you all.
And then we've got our landscape detail.
Yeah, the landscape detail is also similar to what we're doing at F-site and previously approved. So we have the pool fencing, which is a Corten steel mesh, the grape stake fencing, and the Corten steel screening. Everything else is pretty typical paving details. If we scroll down, we have the boulder bank wall, a simple handrail, our stone steps. Scrolling down. And then these are typical planting details. And then, yeah, that's all.
It looks like it cut off the bottom of your sheet.
Yeah. For which one?
15. This one. The PDF file.
Oh.
Clipped.
Oh, yeah, you can't see the label for the moment.
That is Justin.
Oh, thank you for letting me know.
It's not a comment. 16, you've got your planting details. Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions? Andrew, Chris? Question, clarification?
I was up there, so.
Yeah, Andrew's the only one who's.
I have a good idea of what's happening.
Yeah, technical question. What is an outdoor sauna? What do you mean by outdoor sauna?
Meaning you just step it right out to the outdoors. Yeah. Good question.
Make sure I was on board.
Outdoor access.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Andrew? I know you haven't seen this really before.
What is the net result of tree impacts versus mitigation and all that stuff? Just on a general level. I know what's going on site by site, but what's the?
Well, so in the area that you have on your screen, for example, there's some ash that are non-natives where that project, where the adult pool is going. So there's some tree removal there of ash. We've got a biology, well, actually Sasha should probably speak to
Another
that.
junkie.
Well, how about oaks and sycamores? Let's stay to oaks and
Protected
sycamores.
trees.
None are coming out. Any trees that are being encroached upon, we do have, coupled with our biologists and arborist report, a whole replacement mitigation tree plan, which will fill the entire canyon, not necessarily these key forest spaces.
And do you know generally how much you have to mitigate based off of that?
I can just speak to this briefly. We have a permit condition, which requires, mitigation if trees are required to be removed. So none are proposed to be removed. We are providing mitigation for substantial encroachment, which is 20%. So we're proposing 98 native trees in our replacement plan.
Okay.
But that includes root zone encroachment.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks. And then on the building material side of things, can you clear up on this sheet, the sheet that shows the materials palette? It says raw cedar, natural raw cedar, weathered, and then I think on your wall details, it shows more of a composite. Is it one or the other?
Might depend on which detail, but it should be cedar.
So it's not a composite material?
It's not a composite
No.
material,
Okay.
no, there's no.
And the
composite
difference in the
material.
images is just, you know, on day one, when it's installed, it has, you know, more color to it, but that naturally bleaches out, weathers out, and same with the ebonized material. It's gonna kind of return a little bit less dark.
Okay, and then follow-up question based on that answer, what's the thickness of the wood?
I think in general, it's probably like a 1x4, and in certain key areas where it's more of a rain screen condition, it would be down to like a 3/4.
Got it, thanks.
And if you look on the right, one of the details that we've talked about that you'll see if we're getting into final is on the right-hand image, do you see how there's different widths there? There's sort of three.
Yeah.
Far right, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of images of that, but we,
Picture with the window.
yeah, we'd like to maybe make it a little more organic by mixing those up
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
things like that.
Good.
Just in that setting, so it's not so modular.
And then she questions?
Yes,
Okay,
thanks.
no worries. Just want to make sure everybody got a chance. Public comments.
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, well, that was a change.
Yeah.
They must have got it out of their system. Last hearing. Yeah, because there's been a lot of public comment on this.
Mhm.
Very civil, but a lot.
True.
Okay, they're here for preliminary today.
Yeah, I'll go.
Or do you want to have do you have any comments to make?
Just a quick one.
Yes, please.
Great, good job. I like what this has gone. Great, we don't mean to torture you, you know. But I'm ready to, let's just move, go for it.
Yeah, and you?
Yeah, only comment as you head into the next step here is, the things that really compromise these kinds of buildings and these kinds of styles, and not to be, you know, patronizing, but plenty of people mess this up, is making sure that you employ whatever strategies you need, this being one of them, to make sure you end up with full boards around windows and doors and corners and things like that, and making sure that you have wood that is thick enough to handle that, you know, exposure and
Woodpeckers.
yeah, and making sure that you don't end up with, you know, stuff that's cupped and warped. You want it weathered, that's the look you're going for, but you don't want it to cup
Make
and
it
warp and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I think it's a really pleasant project and put a lot of thought and care in it.
Thank you.
I think that, your landscape details, I think you're there, you've got everything. Obviously, architecture's got some more detailing to do. So, yeah, I think you're gonna be fleshing out your, those roofing details, and you've already thought about some micro stuff, but you think you're gonna have to do the rest, and your windows and your doors, and just really, the whole package is what we're gonna want for final. I didn't catch anything in the landscape package that isn't already there.
Okay.
I mean, it's very inclusive at this point. So, yeah, and then, check with the planner and see if we saw any of the, tree mitigation, you're gonna want to include that in your final. Because whatever's in your final set for us, that's gonna be incorporated into that whole land use package, because we're kind of with land use, and this is kind of a tied together hand in hand thing. So I want you to be really cognizant of what you're submitting, so that even if it's a lot of sheets that we have to go through, at least it's all in there, and we don't miss anything when we take our final action.
Okay, you want us to layer that to the end of this presentation, so it's there as kind of an appendix? Or you
That
wanna-
should be fine, but I'd check with the planner and see, because if it's something we looked at earlier, you want to capture it now before you get the full final.
Yeah.
Okay.
times-
And I honestly cannot remember if we looked at that in that detail. But if we did look at where your mitigation was and what was going on with that, or any of that mitigation plan, you're gonna wanna lump it in to the final,
Okay.
just for completeness sakes. But if we haven't looked at it, put it in.
I don't think it's passed through here yet.
I don't think so either, not through this
Yeah,
room.
so
Yeah.
it was just but do go back and make sure that everything that you're showing us at the final that it captures everything that we've looked at that might have been dropped at some point, because, oh yeah, that's fine, so we don't have to. But you've done a pretty good job, I think, of keeping it all together as we've moved forward, so just keep on as you're going, so.
Okay, thanks for the feedback.
Motion man, you ready?
Yep, let's do it. Preliminary. Fine.
You'd like to make a motion
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, sorry. I'm already ahead of myself.
for preliminary?
Preliminary, for sure.
I'll second.
Excellent.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you
Easier
very
when there's
much.
Just a few of us. Your timing's good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Okay.
Have a great
Full
weekend.
board? Yes, they'll need to return full board.
Make it soon.
Yeah,
It'll.
we plan on coming back very soon. We're final, right? So
Right?
we're-
Yeah.
We're coming back ASAP.
Excellent.
Yeah, we might see you.
By the balls, we have momentum.
Yeah, we get details.
Yeah.
Enjoy your weekend.
Item number 5, 23 bar 131,
Welcome back.
Mountain Tech Inc. Guest Ranch.
you again. Have a seat.
Thank you. This one looks nice and cozy, Andrew. Okay.
And then, let me get here.
Architect Jim should be joining us. I've been
Thank
trying-
you.
Yes, he's online.
Have a good day.
Great.
Thanks, have a nice day.
Bye, thank you.
So we're hoping for conceptual approval today.
Okay, there is no actual action at conceptual.
Okay.
The first action we take is the appealable action, and it's preliminary,
Okay.
just for future reference, no
Thank you.
problem.
It's the first time I've ever done this.
Hey,
It's all lingo.
it's
All
a-
lingo. Lingo.
We had somebody come in today who said, we got conceptual approval, and I didn't jump on them. So this
Okay.
is a little bit of a knee jerk, so just FYI.
Appreciate
Do you want me to read the comments real quick and then,
Okay,
and then you guys can tailor what you need to talk about and we'll get out of here?
Yeah, stick to the comments.
Okay, great.
Project likely will not be visible from any public road due to topography and screening. Site design, size, bulk, scale are acceptable. Detailing on this project will be critical. Return with additional details as far as how structures will be placed adjacent to existing trees. For example, wall, eave, deck, and railing details showing how trees will be accommodated. And that was all the comments we had.
Okay, great. So we added 2 sheets to the plans to address.
Let's just kind of, can you, yeah. Yeah, there we go. So let's just scroll down through, we'll just do
Okay.
1 through. We saw that before.
Yep. Tree cards,
and there's your
fire hose
trees.
poles, parking,
Yep,
fire truck turnaround.
yep. And that was your, yep,
This is technically new from the
Okay.
last visit, and it's where we just did perk testing.
okay.
So I walked the land with a septic waste designer, Paul Jensen.
So that'll be your drain field.
Yeah, exactly. So we just pulled samples from there. They're getting processed right now, but we had originally thought that we'd put everything to do with waste in that far north west corner,
Uh-huh,
just for gravity to do its work. But when walking the site with Paul Jensen, he said, look, this doesn't feel right. It's not exposed enough, and just looking at the soil, it doesn't feel like it's
so
going
this
to.
is gonna handle it.
Yeah, so we walked and I said, look, here's an already existing open space in the forest from trees naturally falling. And I understood what was needed in a good design, and I presented that spot and he said, this looks great. So we've proceeded with the perk testing there, and the tech said that it had passing rates, so.
Wonderful, that's
Yeah,
great news.
and it's a really good spot where we have the handicap walkway planned.
Walkway, so you're gonna be able to get double use.
Exactly, yeah, and we'll put some nice plantings on top of the training field.
Okay,
This is lighting plan,
Yep.
nothing's changed. Same here, lighting plan over by parking, slope plan, cabin detail. I still call them cabins, but guest room, the facilities building.
that's your main
core-
building. yeah.
Core of the retreat. This is going into the foundational design and then.
Yep, we
renderings
saw
of
these
the roof
last time.
lines. That one's still off in PDF.
Yep. Sometimes when I have PDF errors like that, it helps to break it up. Print certain ones to print it into, if you've got a problem sheet, print just that sheet by itself.
Okay.
The
Okay.
PDF and not the whole set.
Okay. Yeah, if we go back one, so these are the additional details. And I
Yeah.
think the most important part is the note. So the survey is 54 inches off the ground.
Right.
But as you know,
Oh, yeah, trees do their own thing.
I think the universal note is what's most important here, that at a roof line, any trunk within 8 inches, this is the design that we will go with. So we'll cut back one purlin and make space for that tree to grow.
Cool.
So according to the plans, it looks like there's about 6 trees, but
Right.
as we go.
You've got a nice, if we run into a situation we didn't see coming, way to do
Yeah,
it.
we'll just apply that universal note. And we only have one tree going through a deck. And so I think the most important thing here is that the universal note of the joist will always be 6 inches. And then when first installed, the deck boards will be a maximum of 2 inches away with the ability to cut them back as the tree grows.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch that aluminum decking steel joist, because depending on how old the tree is, I mean, you know, some oaks just, as they get a whole lot older, and you could wind up with a situation where you're gonna have to go, not that you need to detail that, because I think you're probably already thinking about that, but you could wind up with a situation where you had to add some structure around it to accommodate it at some point. But this should get you going for quite some time. But
Okay.
yeah, very well thought out. Okay, and then the next.
And those are the 2 new sheets. So everything from here on is back to landscape.
Yep. Okay, and you are here for the conceptual, perfect. Yeah. Any questions? No quick questions?
No, I'm good.
Public comment?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay, comments from the board?
None.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come in for
Thank you.
Preliminary. Now, do you want my little speech about preliminary and final?
Yes, please.
Okay, so preliminary is your appealable action.
Okay.
Okay, regardless of whether we do, excuse me, I'm sorry. Whether we do whether you come to us twice for preliminary and you wind up coming back final on consent. However, I think it's fully reasonable to say you can return for preliminary and final full board.
Okay.
This is the caveat. If you come in, and you can come in and you can choose if you've got that as a notation, and the planner agendizes it that way. So you have to coordinate with your planner. But if you come in and you feel you're just not quite ready for final, that's not a problem. You don't have to do the final, okay? It's just nice to have the option. However, if you do go to the full extent of, I mean, you saw the last project he was here, that was for preliminary. Okay, so the full-on details, you saw the level of details that the landscape architect had gone to. They had all their details. That's final level.
Okay.
And so what can happen sometimes, especially with architecture, is that you can go the full limit, do the detailing, which can be a quite costly process, and then discover that we suddenly say something. And it changes something. I do not see that happening here, which is why I'm offering you the thing. But by the same time, I have to tell you, it can happen.
Okay.
And in 25 years, I've seen a couple of times where it did happen.
Okay.
So it's up to you guys how you want to approach it. There's just no guarantee.
Okay.
But you seem very well placed to take advantage of it. If you and your architect and your design team wants to do it.
Okay.
So our recommendation is we're not gonna take any action, but the notes will say, please return preliminary and final full board.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So you have lots of options within that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. So, I think that's it.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you
Great.
so
Thank
much
very
for including those
Yep, yep,
details.
We'll see you soon then.
That was just enough to make me feel real comfortable.
Okay,
and-
great.
And now you can do preliminary and final together.
Okay, wonderful. All right.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Excellent
Good to see you again.
project, very nice. All right, so, which planner have we got?
Henry.
Henry, can you, share your screen and we'll go through the minutes?
Yeah, I'll pull those up right now.
Thank you. And you can get out of here too. Woo-hoo.
I'm pretty surprised. We were very efficient with just the three of us.
You know, sometimes
3.5.
3 people, can get through a lot. Of course, we also can sometimes.
No, that's not true.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So project 1, Nicole noted that Sally Isaacson and Merrill Brooks made public comments. And that,
I'm not sure Merrill is spelled correctly.
Or Isaacson.
okay.
Yeah, because it's 2 A's, not 2 S's. But that's okay.
Yeah, I'll have,
I think Merrill is EL.
Or YL, but who knows?
I think what it said on the online, no, online it said MERREL, I think.
MAR. I wrote it down.
She wrote it down,
Okay.
so. we'll
yeah,
get
I'll
it later.
coordinate with Teresa after and we can
Good job,
spell these
Teresa.
right.
Good job.
I think too, you could just shorten to consider balancing cut and fill on site.
For 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you could, I think they always intended to. I think you can say, with a, location denoted on the plans.
For 2 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The fill.
that sounds better.
Yeah, they should be providing that anyway as part of their LUP submittal, so, or whatever this was.
I think between location and denoted, just say, with the location for fill denoted on plans. Okay, there we go. Jeez.
What other information do we need about reflectivity? They gave a pretty,
I told her just to keep that comment.
okay.
Well, the issues are gonna get dirty in 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, really.
I think you can change comment number 9 to continue to be concerned. So just continue to be concerned that the panels will be reflected for drivers along the roadway, period. That was a good catch.
And the reason why before, Andrew, I said 4 times.
We don't need to
because they
provide
always
further
paragraph.
information. Take that out.
So I was exaggerative.
Meet in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, just take that sentence out. Perfect,
And,
okay.
and that's what they did, which is hilarious.
Okay, are we good on item 1? I'm not
What's
sure what
number
X,
4 what's number 4 mean?
I'm not sure what she
Would
was
be good.
writing here.
Oh, somebody said something about would be good if, some of the electricity could go to Lompoc.
Yeah,
That's
that's me.
not, you can just
That's
take
not
that
our
out.
purview. I was trying to throw them a nice bone.
Okay.
Much more than it is acceptable to provide a detailed construction of the
If they were
fencing.
smart, they
I
would.
think on number 4,
If they were smart, they would have considered that.
number
Car
4,
charging her.
that's fine, leave it, I'm gonna amend it, I'm gonna add to it. With the construction of the fencing, particularly as concerns T-post height.
Wood pole.
You said T-post height?
Yes. Then that's fine. Provide a preliminary list.
But he also says some wood pole.
I think you could say, you can take out more in front of accurately. Shrub size and location. Right there, yeah. Although she just said that you can take out identify with specific people. Leave that in because they didn't have it.
This
And
portion.
then, yeah, leave that in. That could be the end of the sentence though. After planted. And then the rest of us, the rest of it, she's just trying to give me everything up there so that you have to do very minimal moving around. I think that what we want to say for the last of it is that planting could be, is not a reflection of the endemic species. So either let's see, I'm trying to think how to do this. I continue with refining the plant palette. I think you could just leave it that way. And then take out the rest of what's in there.
So take out this middle section about the arbor.
Yep, the arbutus.
Take out this section.
Yep,
And palette is ETTE.
correct. I was just gonna say that. It's not a loading palette.
No.
It's a palette like for painting. It's a semantic thing. The reduction of, number 6 could say, we appreciate the reduction of the solar panels on the upper slope.
The reduction of the solar panels on the slope.
On the upper slope.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you so much. Okay, somewhat, I'd say there's some concern, some continued concern about the visibility of the solar panels on
Which would
the,
be the eastern section,
no,
because he was looking at the map on the west, it's the part that's.
no, it's the furthest west.
Yeah.
Where the driveway
The
side?
most upslope is the furthest west,
Yes,
which is what she was referring to.
which is what I was referring to.
Farthest away from the highway.
Yep.
West up on that corner.
Yeah, it's a little arm that went like that.
Yeah. Oh, that very top part, I thought we talked about. everything.
No.
Put 'em over there. Okay, yeah,
No, no, no.
okay, I'm good with that, okay. You're right. I thought there was some confusion how it was.
Some
up on-
confusion, but it's solar panels on the upslope side of the, you could just say the solar panels located upslope and furthest to the west. I think that clarifies it.
Yeah.
No, thanks for asking.
No, because there was some confusion of how it was up on there, so I'm good.
Okay, next.
So the second project was the Ballard Canyon LLC. No public comment.
No, you can take out number 2,
Yeah.
and I don't think they all need to be bold. There you go.
Number 2, take that out.
Yep.
All right.
He was explaining with his hands and I'm like, no, a point is not north. You need to show me. So that was all. Vocabulary mistake. One second, there's positive pictures at least. Andrew, what about number 4?
What is that called, by the way?
I would just say consider how color, just in case they,
Yep.
turn around something else.
Okay, we're going project. Okay, so that east elevation.
For
it's
this,
actually,
or which one? Sorry.
right, so we've got,
Is it what do they call that, the parrot, what's that, gable?
It's a gable.
Just the whole.
I had to
whole thing's
stop
a
thinking.
gable.
I always confuse gables and hips. I always have to go,
But the
wait.
triangle facing is the gable.
It's a gable.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because that was.
You might wanna use the word gable instead of triangle.
Yeah.
And that was
he
on the
didn't
east
like the
elevation?
light color. Yeah, he doesn't like the light color. They're to change that from plaster
To.
to the board and bat. Change plaster within the gable on the east elevation to match board and bat material and color.
Which makes number 6 redundant.
Exactly, I was just gonna say that.
How do you spell bat? Is it just B-A-T-T?
Yeah, and then you're good.
Batten.
Ian, no. There you
Match board
Period.
bat.
Period.
go. Just put a period there.
And then you
Eliminate
said
6.
6. Oops.
Okay. Reduce landscaping wall, no, it was reduce,
The lighting on the wall. right?
Okay.
yeah, and so you can combine 6 and 7. And, for example, eliminate right there at reduce, start there. I'm adding in for before reduce. Right, okay, for example, eliminate the landscape lighting, washing the wall near the pool. That gives it, and then you can just, I think you can remove the rest, yeah,
Yeah, I think they get the gist.
yep.
Is 7 equal now?
7 can be taken out, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, number 3.
This, no public comment, no comments from you guys. It was granted prelim final.
Right, I think you could take out no action taken, you can just change that to action taken.
Oops. Yeah, that was copied over from the previous one.
Yeah, and she's got the vote and everything, so she'll put that in. El Capitan,
No public comment. Like the changes that were made. I'll just let you read it.
Looks good. Action taken, action. I'll be happy when that's gone.
I think they will.
No, we've
be
been a
too.
lot of grief.
number 4, you can take out.
Yeah, it seems
Because
like
it's
they-
not pertinent to the record, that was a comment to them to verify with the planner. I think you could say, we appreciate the changes that have been made. Especially at the end. Yeah. Especially regarding the children's pool and play area. Okay,
5 is easy.
do you want to change, to put something in the beginning to preface that? Because it's not clear exactly what you're talking, if you weren't here at the meeting, you would have no idea that we were talking about the materials board and the colors and detailing. Is there something you can put in there?
To tie it to the material board?
No, to tie it to the details or whatever, because it doesn't really, or. could
Maybe
say-
you could just tack on to the end of the 3rd one, kind of combine the 2 and.
Yeah,
say,
that makes sense. Yeah, put 2 at the end of 3.
And I would just say carefully consider wood siding detailing.
Yep.
Simple as that.
That captures it. Perfect. All right. Number 5.
You just say none, right?
You should say the board is looking,
Do we need to
looking
say
forward to seeing the project return. It's a very nice project. I mean,
Bring it back.
yeah. That's it.
Sounds good. I will send these over to Teresa and Nicole.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
For
Thank
jumping
you.
in.
Thank you, Henry. I'd like to make
Appreciate
a
it.
motion to adjourn.
Second the motion?
All in favor?
Aye. Look at
Thank
that. Awesome. 2 minutes before 12. So,
Woo,
so
woo.
exciting.
5 projects
5.
and
we were
and with
slamming. Love it.
I still have.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this one.
Whoa. Getting to that canyon project, if the thickness of the wood, does it have anything to do with the combustibility, or does it matter